Do women want the harsh truth, or do they want to be happy?
Oh my god.
Do they want the truth, or would they rather have the truth, or would they rather be happy?
I would say this for most people that I know in my world, in my space.
Yep.
Yeah, we want the hard truth.
Do you really? Okay. Even my producer, he's like, nah.
Why are you laughing over there?
Okay. Yo, guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. You know, on this channel, we like to have great conversations and bring on great guests. And today, I actually have a returning guest. Okay. You might have seen her in a few clips online on YouTube, Insta, and TikTok. A couple of videos are doing really well. So, and we thought we should bring her back on. So, without further ado, please welcome Zeba. Zeba,
hey,
welcome
everyone,
back to the show.
I'm back.
How you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
you
warm
good?
in here, so I'm very good.
I know. It's very icy out.
-4 degrees outside.
-4? Nope. It's a no
freezing.
from me.
It's actually freezing outside.
It's a hard no for me. Well, we got a cup of tea. You know, we're all cozy and comfy, and we're gonna continue some of the things that we were talking about from before.
Yes, let's do that.
But to start us off, for people who maybe haven't seen the previous one, tell us your name. What do you do? Either how old you are or your age range, and tell us one thing about you that a guy should know if he wanted to take you out on a date.
Oh my god, you might have to break that down. It was like 5 things all in one go. So my name is Zeba. What was the other thing that you said?
What do you do, and how old are you?
I work in IT, so I don't even know if that's like relevant for what we're going to be talking about in any way, shape, or form. 26.
And what's one thing that a guy should know about you if he wants to take you out on a date?
How am I going to answer that? Surprise me. How about that? That's a really good one.
You want them to surprise you?
Yeah, I want to see how your brain works.
Okay.
So surprise me is what I'll say.
Okay, I hear that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off with the question of, should a guy pay on the first date?
Yeah, I think so.
As in, he should pay?
Yeah, but like, it depends how it goes. Like, I guess what you're doing on the day. If there's like, you're asking for like loads of things to happen on that day.
Yeah.
Like if you're going for dinner and it's like, okay, it's one transaction, that's fair enough. Like, and obviously we've organized going on a date and he said, oh, let's go here.
Yeah.
I guess the build up is important. So how you've come across like, oh, this is where we're going to go. And then like, if we're going to do one thing, then okay, I would expect that he would pay for that. But say if we was to go somewhere afterwards and he's already paid for dinner, I would offer my card up and be like,
okay, cool,
please let me get you a drink.
Yeah.
Like I typically do that because I'm like, I don't like the idea of you just like spending all your cash on me. Yeah, it's nice, but you should feel nice too.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've talked to a few girls before where they'd be like, they can be a bit apprehensive of letting a guy pay because they feel like they then owe him something.
Yeah, and I feel like
that
is also something I could definitely agree with.
Yeah.
Because me in the past, I have in my head said it as well. Like, I don't really want this person to pay all the way for me. Like, yeah, pay for the first thing. But then I'll stop you from there. Like, I'll just pay for myself after that because I don't want to feel like I owe them anything.
Why is the first thing? Why do you think that's so important, at least for you?
Because it's like they've established that masculine step for themselves.
Like leading by example.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear that.
Please comment on that. You didn't really comment on that.
Why? What do you want to know?
What you think about that?
About a guy paying first, or? Yeah,
and like why I think that makes sense. And how you would see that.
I hear that. Okay, I would say that if a man if he's looking to be the quote unquote leader within the relationship, then the idea would be is that she is entering his frame, right? If that's that kind of guy. So with that, it's very common that he's responsible for the environment in which they are going to coexist together.
Agreed.
Which includes where they go out, if maybe she moves in with him, you know, and that's not saying that he should necessarily pay for everything. I mean, some guys might do that. Even though I've never like paid for everything, I've always paid for most. Do you know what I mean? But it might be something like, you know, with me and my ex, it might be something like, you know, maybe I'll buy the food, but then she wants to cook dinner. Do you know what I mean? Though to be fair, I cooked half the time, and I probably did buy the food half the time, most of the time anyway. So yeah, that's what I would say. But I guess it's a very traditional way of doing things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do find that, you know, it's like one moment we want to be very modern and contemporary, and then, you know, the next moment we want to be traditional in the way that benefits us. Do you know what I mean?
It's like we have these underlining traditions that we do live by. Like, okay, the guy's going to pay on the first date, maybe, I don't know. And then the guy's going to be the one that sort of looks after me as a woman. And I'm just there to look presentable and make sure that he's cared for.
How do you care
fed.
for him? How do you care for him?
Making sure that they're fed.
Just fill his belly, boy.
No, this is like obviously like a very obvious traditional thing, like women are in the kitchen cook, which I don't think is a thing. It doesn't make sense at all. But I do think that that is like a normal thing, that even if you are a really great guy, even if you're really nice, even if, I don't know, it just depends on you as an individual. But like most of the time people just understand that as the norm.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't come with that, then you're like not meeting the standard as a woman or a man.
Well, I do hear that. I'd say if you're saying expect it as the norm, as in him to be traditional in these ways, a lot of guys do make the argument that it's like, well, a lot of women aren't that traditional today. So why would you expect us as men to be traditional towards you? Does that make sense?
And I get that. And then I think when you assess the person, and if they're asking for that, like, oh, I want you to be a certain way, if they're not delivering it on themselves, and I would just be like, well, the cheek. Like,
yeah. So what would you say are things that you're quite traditional in how you would approach dating a guy?
The like thing that we sort of established, that they organize maybe the first date and plan it.
Yeah.
And maybe pay for what they've planned.
Yeah.
Because then that gets their foot in the door. Because I feel like from my perspective, I'm looking at you as a guy, like, am I going to allow you into my space as a woman? Like, are you a safe place for me? And them doing those things, it breaks down those barriers for me.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel looked after, makes me feel respected, makes me feel like they're doing whatever they can through their actions, not just their words, to say, like, I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to make sure that you're feeling okay and that you're just safe in the environment. Like, so him paying as like planning the first date is like, I can consider like things that you would like to do, and I'm paying for it, which is like a means of you saying like, you don't always have to have money in your pocket to leave the house with me. Yeah. So it's like communicating quite a few things, and then I see that, and then it's felt, and then if I choose to be like, oh, let's go for drinks after this, that's me saying I accept, like, I see you, like, I think I'm happy to continue with this. Where I might say, let me buy this drink, to communicate that back. But it's like that's maybe.
So I get that in the financial aspect, right? But let's say you've been dating a guy for a couple of months. Okay. So what would you say as a woman? What's an area that you feel you would be contributing more to kind of look after him? You know, so we've talked about how maybe a guy would contribute more in the financial aspect and maybe planning things, you know, making a secure, safe environment for the woman. What's the area where you're going to be contributing more to take care of him?
More on I don't know if this is the right way to say it, like a logistics basis, like what? Because guys just run into problems and they're like, oh, it's all right, I'll just throw money at it. And you're just like, no, be more logical, like fight the case, like say this, do this. And you sort of like, and then they're like, oh, I done it. And I got, like, they'll come home and they'll be like, this is like experiences that I've had with my partners. And they're like, oh, I listened to your advice and I've done that. And it sort of brings you close together. And I think that would be what I would say
Mm.
is my answer to that.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. I think
Does
a lot
it?
of guys would say that does make sense. I think that's true. Like being a good ear and a confidant for maybe things happening in his life. What about, let's say, like the affection, the comforting? Maybe like, like
Yeah.
if he comes back from a long day, or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that too. But I was just thinking that obviously goes without saying, but that definitely would be the case. Like,
I hear that.
but there's a line, because then women fall into this sort of where they are expected to be at home, and I don't know, like it's quite easy to get into a relationship and find yourself turning into like a homebody and just not really dressing up, not really putting on makeup, because we're not going to be going out. I'm just like waiting for him to come home and then I'm there.
I agree. You should definitely still go out on dates and be social. You definitely
Yeah,
should.
but you don't like necessarily do it often enough that it's like the norm.
Yeah.
Whereas before, where like when you were single, like every day you're putting on makeup and you're like trying to impress, like trying to, get a catch every day in a way.
Yeah.
But then you kind of drop that because you're like in a safe, comfortable space. But me as an individual, maybe my traditional thing is, don't drop that, ladies.
But I think,
I don't know which camera to point at. Don't drop that, ladies.
But here's the thing, because it is, you're absolutely right. It is quite common when people get into relationships, right? And where they'll get comfortable. And I think that's...
Let's talk about this, Kit. I want to hear what you're going to say.
So I think, here's the thing, like, it's not saying that you should be... I think there should be an element of fighting for your partner every single day. I think there should be. I think like if part of the attraction that your partner has to you is because you're in great shape, you should fight to stay in great shape for them, right? And that goes for men and women. If as a man, part of why she, was attracted to you because she thinks you're really funny, they'll get into a relationship and then be like just dead.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Take everything too serious. So.
Yeah. So like, and there are going to be serious things that come when you get into a relationship. But I guess the most common way is, for example, and I've heard it a lot where maybe people will get comfortable. They start, I don't say slacking their appearance, but they start
you did say
like,
it though.
I don't say that, but they start relaxing. They start relaxing. And then, and then they complain that their partner doesn't want to have sex with them anymore. And it's like, well, okay, so here's my question to you, right? We're talking traditional sense.
Okay.
In the traditional sense then, right, if we're going down that route, do you think that it's the woman's responsibility to maintain looking good for her man?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What do you mean?
Because some girls would be like, no, he's supposed to love me for who I am.
But like, I don't know, if like, in order for me to look at myself in the mirror, regardless if I'm in a relationship or not, if I wake up in the morning and I'm not wearing a face full of makeup, I'll just be like, oh, you didn't really try today. We'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'm not really trying to impress anyone. I'm just like chilling in my house.
Yeah.
But when I wear makeup, I'm like, yes, like, that's me. Like, I did that. Like, this is me feeling like in my confident, like I can do a TikTok right now, like I could pull my phone out and be like, or I can go and like go on a date and like I don't mind what happens to me, but we know what that means to ourselves. So you going into a relationship and you choosing to do that, you know what that means to yourself.
What do you think it means to the man?
That you are like, you're not looking at him like someone that you need to impress every day. And it's not to say like, okay, like you shouldn't think that because that's your whole man, like you sleep with him, like you probably seen him like go to the toilet and look his worst, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but like you should also frequently be able to see them like, oh yeah, that's my man,
of course,
and like feel that confidence inside of you, knowing that that's your person representing you out and about. 100%. And then same with you for them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just think like, I don't know, like it's a valid reason for someone to be like, what's happening here? Like,
Yeah, I read this story. This this was a couple of weeks ago, where there was this couple. They got married and stuff, and then so this was on the woman's side, where they stopped having sex because she'd like put on loads of weight and stuff, and he wasn't that attracted to her and stuff. And the thing is, attraction is the ingredient that turns it platonic into romantic. So if you don't have a level of attraction, you just essentially, it's like you become housemates. Do you know what I mean? And then that wasn't working within their marriage. Then they divorced. And then when they divorced and she was out and single, she lost all the weight, got into amazing shape. And obviously they were still chatting, just like trying to sort things out. But then because that happened, they started dating again.
oh my God.
And then they got together. And then they got back together.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you know, it's on both parties to maintain the attraction. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying, oh, it's just her job. In that scenario, though, like, it wasn't there because there wasn't a level of keeping to the standards that you had when you met. And I think both should.
And I remember you said a comment that was like, anyone has the, like, I can't remember how you worded it, but you basically said like, anyone has the opportunity to feel good about themselves or to be that person. All they have to do is just look after themselves and, you know, take care of their body and things like that. I can't remember how you worded it, but it was along the lines of that.
Oh, I think I said if we're responsible for ourselves as opposed to being responsible for others, maybe it might have been with someone else.
But it was like you summarizing, like, it's important for it to be our own responsibility to look after ourselves and our body, because that's how we're deemed to society. Not just how we're deemed in society, but to ourselves. When we look in the mirror, when we shower, when we wash our body, we're noticing that we were this slim hourglass figure that fit into this dress, and now 3 months into a relationship, that dress ripped when I wore it last time. I'm so ashamed, and I'm that person. And then you just talk bad on yourself, and you're just like, it's just a toxic thing. And then that person's supposed to make you feel good, and I don't think that's fair. But I can see how that can happen, to be fair.
I think in terms of feeling good and stuff, and this isn't about, you know, you don't want to have negative talk to be like, oh, I've put on weight and I'm shit and blah blah blah. But I think it's more like the other person should be an addition to making you feel good, but you're responsible for making yourself feel good. Do you know what I mean? And I think what can happen is people go, oh, I don't feel great, and it's your job to make me feel good about myself. And it's like, nah, it's not. I want to add to that, of course, because I care about you, right? But if you ultimately don't feel good about yourself for whatever reason, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then people do things like, it affects their job, it affects their everything. It starts having a knock-on effect. So, and then that will be the reason why people like, I don't want to get into a relationship because I don't want that responsibility over somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's fair enough. Like, it makes sense, but then you're just like, it shouldn't be something that you hold on to. But
I agree.
Yeah.
What's something you want to bring to the table?
I have some.
Yeah, give us some.
Some things.
So some of y'all kind of responded to some of the videos. I wanted her to come back on and ask some stuff. So we're gonna see what we got here.
Okay, there was this one which I thought was quite interesting.
Go on.
Do you think men need sex to feel loved and women need to feel loved to have sex?
100%, 110%. I think men and women show their investment differently. I think men show their investment through their emotional time, their time and their non-sexual time, and women show their investment through their sexual time. So what I mean is, if I give you this scenario, who do you think the guy is taking more seriously? The girl who he spends a whole weekend with, they go on walks, maybe have coffee together, have deep chats. They don't have sex, but they, you know, spend that kind of quality time together. Or the girl who he goes around her house at 10 p.m, they have sex, and then he leaves straight away the following morning. Who do you think he's taking more seriously?
Definitely the girl he's spending quality time with.
Exactly, right? Because that's the emotional time. It's the non-sexual time, the romantic intention. That is how a guy shows his investment, not through the sex. Whereas equally, if I ask you, okay, which guy is this girl taking more seriously? the guy who she spends a weekend with, maybe he helps her with some errands and stuff. They chat, but nothing physical happens. Or the guy who she spends the evening with Friday night. They spend an amazing night together, and then she leaves the following morning. Who's she taking seriously? She knows I'm right. She knows I'm right.
I'm just like gonna move on to the next one.
But in answer to the question, like,
Okay, no, I will respond to you. But,
which one do you think take more seriously?
I would probably say she's probably more emotionally attached to the person she's spending the night with.
Do you know what I mean? The guy that she has sex
just
with.
Drop that one, and then there's another one, or she could just be like, "Oh, I can categorize that as a friend real quick because I've got friends I hang out with."
Yeah, I agree. So, like, the biggest thing I think in relationships is where the guy doesn't feel loved when there isn't any sex happening or any physical intimacy happening. But I think a lot of the times the woman doesn't feel love when she feels she doesn't have enough of his time, she doesn't have enough of his attention and enough of his emotional attention. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's how a lot of women feel loved.
So what if there is a scenario where it's like you find someone attractive,
yeah,
but you don't find someone like sexually attractive?
What do you mean?
Like you're looking at them like, oh yeah, you're good looking, but like you're not necessarily my type.
Oh, so like you're like, oh, I can appreciate you're an attractive person, but I'm not attracted to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I say that, I mean, like for guys.
Yeah.
They'll just look at women and be like, oh yeah, you're not ugly.
Yeah.
I would sleep with you.
Oh yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
But then with girls, it's like you have to really meet that standard, which is they set it quite high, which is like you gotta be this and this and this.
Yeah,
so there's lots of people that will just be in a certain bit of that, and you're just like, well, you're not all the way up there, so I don't know if I could see myself with you.
I hear that. So when guys are just looking for sex, their standards are much lower. They're much lower. Whereas I'd even argue if a girl is just looking for sex, and we're talking appearance, right?
Mm-hmm.
When a girl's just looking for sex, her standards are much higher. Way higher. Because it's like, well, if I'm going to have sex, I'm going to have sex with a hot freaking guy. Do you know what I mean? So it's really easy. So in that sense, like, because thing is, men and males of like a lot of like species, men are almost hardwired to seek out sexual opportunity. Does that make sense? So like, if there's a girl who he's like, okay, like, you know, maybe she's not my type, but she's offering to come over and I don't have to take her out, and she's offering for us to just kind of have a nice casual hookup. A lot of guys would indulge in that because it's like, well,
ticks that box for me regardless.
Because guys want to have sex, right? Not every guy is like that, but like a lot of guys, if it's just sex, a lot of guys don't have very high standards. Whereas for girls, like, you know, I said this to my friend the other day, if you're like, I hate. Why
are we gonna go with this? You're laughing too much.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Okay. So, fuck it, I'll say it. So you know how you like people? We rate people like out of 10. Like they're a 10 out of 10 in looks. They're a 7 out of 10. If you're a girl and you're an 8 out of 10, there is virtually no guy in the world who would not have sex with you. In fact, I'd even say if you're a 7. Like, if you're a girl and you're a 7 or 8 out of 10, I'm going to say every guy on this planet would have sex with you. Because even if a guy is a 10 out of 10, if he's just looking for sex, he'd have sex with girls in 8, 100%. Because she's, you know, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know guys who've been 9s out of 10, they'll have sex with, like, they were just really horny, it'd been a while. And there was a girl who was, like, just not that attractive. He's like,
what number?
She's offering it, like, do you know what I mean?
What's his number?
What's his number? Give it to you after. He's got a girlfriend now. Very good looking guy. So yeah, I think if you're like a somewhat attractive girl, virtually every guy on the planet will have sex with you, but not every guy will commit. But
that's where the trouble lays.
Yeah.
Because you're out here like, I'm just gonna talk to a guy and like see where this goes, and then it becomes very sexualized very quickly, and you're just like, oh, I really found you attractive and thought that this was going somewhere. Like, but actually, I'm just like looking at them, and they're just not even listening to me.
Yeah.
They're just like I don't know.
Or are they like they're like in awe of you, or what? That's a lovely thing to say.
Yeah. Not saying that, but I mean like they've just like got their head set on like it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next week, but I wanna see with that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the main reason why guys pursue women in the first place. He may be open to getting to know who she is, but like we'd be kidding ourselves if we were like, a girl doesn't see an attractive girl go, wow, she looks like she has a great personality. Let me ask her out. That's what I'm attracted to. It's like, bro, you don't know her. Like you want to take her out because you're attracted to her, right? But then obviously if he can be open to obviously getting to know her. On that though, so you said like when a girl might be dating a guy and he's like so focused on the sex. One thing that I always say that it's, as a woman, you have to be so aware to make sure that the time you spend together isn't revolved around sex. Because when a lot of people start dating, they just start having Netflix and chill dates, right? So you have to make sure that you are having actual dates where sex isn't on the table, you know. So like maybe you'll go for lunch and then you with the guy, and then maybe you go see your friends after, or
You
know
see
what I mean?
that bit, yeah?
Yes.
Going back to the traditional thing that you said in the beginning.
Yep.
Lots of women still have this basis in their head where they're like, well, he's going to ask me out on a date. He's going to like decide on what we do next. Or maybe I'll do it after he's done 1, 2, 3, I do 4. Or like, I don't know.
Right.
They're just not trying to look desperate or...
But the first couple of dates, the guy is going to be asking you out.
Yeah, but then say, for example...
I'm talking like if you've been dating for like a month or 2.
Okay, then that's different. Because I'm here thinking if it's earlier stages and then a girl's like, oh, I want to see him again.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't.
Oh, no,
like...
early stages. I'm talking from when you start having sex. So when you start having sex with the guy, right, it's really important to make sure you still prioritize having dates outside of the bedroom.
Yeah.
Outside of the home. Because that is actually part of the vetting process to see if this guy is going to take you seriously. Because if a guy is just using a girl as a sexual option, he won't spend time with her unless sex is on the table. So it'll almost be impossible for her to get him on like a date outside of Netflix and chill, or outside of where sex can't happen.
Yeah, and that's what I was moving towards.
Like, go. Oh, is that what you meant?
Yeah, literally what you just said.
Yeah. And you know, I know it's, you know, and at that point, if you started having sex, of course you can suggest a date to him. But like, hey, like, you know, I saw this really cool art gallery. I think we should go. It'd be really cool. Or, you know, let's go do some go-karting. Like, guys would love that. Do you know what I mean? Because that's where you're spending one-on-one time together. But he's not just looking at you like, so when's she going to take her clothes off? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because when you eliminate sex from a guy's mind, then he's focused on who you are. He's not focused on... Obviously, he's going to be like, oh, wow, she's gorgeous, right? But because I promise you, like, let's say you started dating a guy. How dare you? And let's say you started dating a guy. And let's say it's like the second, third date that, you know, you're like, oh, come over, I'll cook us dinner or something, right? Which happens. I promise you, for 70% of that entire evening, he's just thinking, are we going to have sex? That's all he is thinking about. He'll be talking to you, whatever, but he's literally thinking, are we going to do it?
Yeah.
You eliminate that from his mind, he's just focused on you. And that's why those outside dates are very important to prioritize, especially when you start having sex. Because if you can't do that with a guy, then he's not the one for you. Yeah. What's something else?
I'm gonna... Sorry, that was an alarm. That's
all right. She has an alarm every hour. Get her tea, get her caffeine hit.
Yeah, coffee. I should have had a coffee.
Hit.
I'm gonna see if there's anything else I want to ask you on here.
Yeah, go for it.
Asking your partner how you would like to be loved is something people should practice more of.
100%. Yeah, I think we assume that how we show affection is how
everyone does.
Is how our partner will show affection to us. And if they show affection in different ways, we then don't feel loved.
But like, say for example, if you're with someone that's like super freaky and you're not.
Oh, like in the bedroom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like they express that side of themselves, and you're just like, I don't know that you were like that. I don't know.
Well, I would say,
that's, I think, is a good thing to maybe establish early on.
yeah, I guess when you start being intimate, I guess that probably will start to show itself. Like, why is this guy trying to do this? Like, he just stays on my toes all
Why
the
is he
time.
grabbing me like that?
Like, what's he doing that? Yeah, I think so. But I think if you say like, oh, I really love it if you do this, I think that's a really
How
nice way
would
to
you?
communicate it.
I don't know. Obviously, it would be more very authentic, but like maybe how would you ignite that conversation with a partner?
So if I would, okay, so are we saying, let's say I want to be really freaky. Is that what you're saying? How would I?
Yeah, like say for example, you were someone new, and like you've maybe slept with each other 1, 2, 3 times,
Yeah.
and you've done it in like a bog standard way.
Yeah.
And
Missionary only.
And then you realize that you like to do crazy stuff, and you're like, do you think I can run that by her now? Or
so I would start the conversation by, let's say we're sitting on the sofa and we're just having dinner or something. I'd say,
wait.
well, you're talking about how to start the conversation, right? Or did you mean in the bedroom? What did you mean?
No, you just start. You start wherever you want. Like, where would you be ideally? How would you ignite that conversation? And like, what would be your opening line?
I would ask her, what does she like? I would say, I'd be like, so what do you like in the bedroom? Like, what really gets you going?
And what she's like, I don't know.
Oh, if she doesn't know. Oh, well, if she doesn't know, then that's cool. I'd be like, okay, then I'd be like, okay, well, I want us to try some things. And then I try those things.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Because then it would be, you're exploring, you're not just putting it on.
Yeah, so I think, okay, so if it's like, it should be a thing of, I want us to explore this together, as opposed to, this is me, do it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start, every time, especially when you're in a relationship, every time you start something with, I want, right? You make it about you. And sometimes that's necessary, depending on what you're talking about. But when you're talking about a joint activity together, instead of saying I want, it should be like, oh, we should try this.
Yeah.
Or I want us to do this.
I think that's really worth saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, the second, especially if it's kind of, you know, sensitive territory, the second somebody hears I, right, from the other person, they can get defensive.
Yeah. That's what
I think you're not doing this. What do you mean?
Yeah.
But when you go, oh, I think we should start doing this for each other, sounds completely different, and you're making the same point. And
then if you do come with, I like this, and it's like, so we're thinking about you in this scenario, not
exactly.
us.
Thinking about you, not us. Do you know what I mean? I have a question for you, right? Changing gears. Do you think, right, that, do women want the harsh truth, or do they want to be happy?
Oh my god!
Do they want the truth, or would they rather have the truth, or would they rather be happy? And I have a specific example.
That is something that connects to something that's in here. But,
okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
I'm talking for myself because I don't know, but I would say this for most people that I know in my world, in my space.
Yep.
Yeah, we want the hard truth.
Do you really? Okay. Even my producer, he's like, nah.
Why are you laughing over there?
Okay. let me give you this example, right? He won't mind saying it. So one of my best friends happened recently where, it was like before Christmas, where he started dating this girl, and you know, he was dating multiple people. You know, he's an attractive guy. Started dating this girl. I think they'd gone on a few dates. They had sex and stuff. And then she didn't see him for a couple of weeks. I think she was away for work. So when she came back, you know, she was at his, they were chatting. She was like, oh, have you slept with anyone else? And he was like, well, yeah, I have, yeah. And then she like kicked off completely. Like just completely like turned into this argument and stuff. Like, how could you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, whoa, hold on. Like, well, first off, no expectations were made or standards were made before you went. Right? We've been on a few dates. I enjoy getting to know you. No standards were set. Second thing is, you can't get angry at me for telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't want the so now
That's not the problem, though.
So then he came to me. He was like, if a girl asks me that, maybe I should just lie and just say no. And I'm like, no, don't lie.
No.
So that's what I'm asking.
No, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. I'm actually so glad that you brought that up.
Go on.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, go on.
Because I think there's two things that, like, you was like, do women want the hard truth? There's two ways to answer that. I'm saying yes, but I'm like, you don't have to be hurtful when you do and say it, though. Like, you don't have to be like, the way that you've just said that example, I thought that was a good example to bring up.
Yeah.
But like, some guys will do it in a way that's like, in order for her, like, you'll see it a lot on like movies and TV and stuff. It's like they'll say things really nasty and hurtful in the worst way to like get rid of her and like retract her from him so he can live his life and get away from it. Whereas women do want to know the hard truth so they don't waste their time. But what they find that they get is guys just saying things to like make sure that they're happy. But it's like, who's happy? Because they're confused and lost and hanging around and like invested in you. And as soon as you give them the hard truth, it might explode in your face right then. But give her a couple weeks and she's started another narrative elsewhere. She's outside, like she's busy.
Yeah, I hear that. I think a lot of guys feel you can either tell her the truth or she can either be happy, but you can't do both.
This is I'm like, this is my favorite topic to talk about. I'm so glad. I'll say it again and again. So glad you brought this up. Because okay, let me just bring up one of the things that were in here that sort of relates. Where was it? Oh yeah. What is with men thinking that ghosting is a form of communication? And then it says, say it with your chest, big man. Because for women, goes back to like what I said, they can't do anything with that information. You're trying to be nice, but what can we do with that nice information? I'm not happy. I'm just stuck. I unstuck me. It's like you throw me on a Velcro wall and put me in a Velcro suit.
Yep.
And you're like, she's happy. she's still hanging around.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm still hanging around.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. Who said happy? What is that? Okay. Where did you get that from?
So it's all right. Okay. So first thing I'll say is men ghost, women ghost. Are you telling me you've never ghosted
I'm not
anyone?
saying that we don't.
Have you ever ghosted someone? Okay then. So
I have, yeah, but
exactly.
We'll get to that, don't worry.
Now, ghosting is a form of communication. It's them telling you that they're not that into you. Simple as that. Why did you ghost guys that you've ghosted? Why did you ghost them?
Because I didn't want to continue what was going on. But the reason
it's the exact same thing. If a guy ghosts a girl, it's because he's not that interested in her.
Yeah, but what I've experienced, and loads of girls have experienced, is that they're giving you out this energy. And I know you're going to say women do it because I know that we do it. I'm not, this is not me saying that we don't do it.
Yeah.
That we just land. But it's just like, I don't know, you get to a certain point and you're like, well, I've kind of explained already. I feel like I've established that I'm not really feeling this.
How did you establish it?
So you would be like, oh, like I'm not really interested in doing that. And then be like, you know what, I think we should slow this down. And you would say certain things. And then they don't get it. And then your communication just drops. And then it turns into a ghost. And you're like, okay, that's valid. That makes sense.
Okay.
But guys would give out they'll give out energy like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then disappear.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So I think there's a slight difference. I think for most women, they communicate covertly, which basically means they won't directly say, I'm not into you. But like, he'll be like, oh, are you free? And she will always be busy. Right? Or she'll respond like, if he's like, oh, we up to tonight? And she'll respond 3 days later. Do you know what I mean? So in a woman's mind, she's like, I'm communicating to him subtly that I'm not into him, but he keeps pursuing it. Now, most guys don't pick up on those signals. It's even the same like when you're at a bar or a club and a guy's hitting on you. You maybe look at him and be like, oh, he seems cool, but he's not really my vibe, right? But he keeps going. And you're like, why can't he tell from my body language and how I'm communicating with him that I'm not into him? Though you haven't directly said, hey, I'm just not interested. So I think for a lot of guys, they go, well, one, I think a lot of guys find it difficult to pick up on subtle cues. And I do think that's something that guys need to improve on, right? I completely agree. But two, guys is like, well, she's not said no. So it means that there's an opportunity for me to build attraction from her to me. So I think that's the case with women. With guys, as in, why is it their energy is great when they're interacting with you and they're with you and then they suddenly ghost? Because they don't want you to feel bad around them. So they don't want you to think they're a bad guy just because they're not into you. Because it feels like, okay, well, I'm going to be a dick to her just to prove that I'm not into her. It's like, nah, it's like, he still wants you to think he's a good guy, but he's just not into you. So if he's going to interact with you, he does want to make you feel good and be like, oh, every time she interacts with me, she has a great experience. But that doesn't mean that I'm into her.
That's very misleading, no?
Well, I would say, like, you said the reason you ghost someone is because you weren't into them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why people ghost. That's why a guy ghosts, because he's not that into her.
Yeah, but then it goes back to your comment that you was like, do women want the hard truth, or they just want to hear whatever to be happy? So if I put that to you now, do you want the hard truth? Or do you
Mate,
want
guys
to
get the
just be
hard
happy?
truth regardless. Like we
So
we
at
get
a
the hard
bar, like
truth.
you said that scenario, and a guy's chatting away, and I'm like, he's still talking to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so you want me to go, listen, leave
Well,
me
I'd
alone.
pick that up. I mean, I'd understand that, but in general, like, I'm just saying, some guys can't read those subtle cues. So sometimes
I
it
guess
literally.
I could say the same for women.
I think. I'll be honest.
Feel
Women's
convinced.
intuition is a real thing. It's a real power, and I think women ignore it a lot of the time because they've fallen in love with the idea of being with said man. So they go, I know my intuition is saying this. But this guy's tall, attractive, good-looking, confident, funny, intelligent. He brings everything to the table, and he's almost too good to pass up. So I'm going to ignore that intuition of what my guts. I think women know. I think they do know.
Okay.
I think women even. Not all the time.
Say it. You have to say whatever.
I think even women know when a guy has cheated because his energy. There's a slight shift in his energy, and women feel it. They go,
I can
I don't
say
know
for
what
a
it
fact,
is. Go on.
I feel like that was the case for me.
Go on.
But it
say
goes
more.
back to the hard truth thing.
Mm.
And it was like I was with someone and I was like, I'm certain that this is, like, I know. I literally could have put my whole, like, money, life on the line.
Yeah.
That there is something that this person has done or that they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they're behaving very different.
There's a slight shift in their energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like vacant to a degree. And it was blatantly obvious to me.
Yes.
But it was like, without that hard truth,
You don't know.
I'm just here. And so a lot of women will turn very toxic and do stuff like, you see these weird TikToks of like, oh, I found out he was cheating on me with my best friend, so we surprised him with something and then we found out. And it's like all of that unnecessary stuff. Like,
I'd be looking at the best friend. Like, why'd your best friend go there?
yeah, that was probably a really crap example to use.
I hear that. No, I hear that. I hear that. But then, just because someone's toxic to you, that's not an excuse to be toxic back.
Can I
When
say
they go
something?
low, we go high.
You know, on the best friend thing,
Yes.
something was asked that I want to ask you.
Yeah, go for it.
And I don't want to forget it because you segued to it quite nicely there.
Go for it.
Someone asked, no idea. I want to date my ex's best friend. What is the advice that you would give?
Is this a girl or guy? Actually, I don't think it matters.
It's a girl
Oh,
talking on
you have to.
Yeah, it's a girl dating her ex's best friend.
Okay. Does she know the guy already, or does she want to reach out to the guy? Like, are they in an environment where they're in communication
They're
with?
in communication.
Okay. Does she want to take this guy seriously?
She doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
But there's a vibe. There's a like a bond. There's a continuous like.
Okay. You have to go to your best friend. You have to say, let's say his name's Zach. Be like, hey, like, I don't know, like, just kind of started happening. Zach and I started talking. Like, we're starting to connect in a way. I think there could be potential, but I just wanted to run it by you first because I love you and I respect you. And see what the best friend says. And then you have to know for yourself, because not every best friend is gonna be like, yeah, girl, go for it. Some might be like, I really don't feel comfortable, and you have to know for yourself. Well, are you willing to walk away from it? Are you gonna walk away? Like, are you willing to compromise your friendship for the potential of having the man that you want? Or if you don't see that potential with him, is he really worth it if all you're going to do is fool around for a couple of months? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I think you've misunderstood.
Oh, what do you mean?
The girl is going with her ex-boyfriend's best friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, she has nothing to do. It's her ex-boyfriend, so she doesn't need to talk to him. His best friend needs to talk to him. So she doesn't have anything to do. That's not on her. That's on his best friend. It's on his best friend to go, hey, bro, I started talking to Zeba. She's really cool. I think there could be something there, but I need to run it by you first.
That's a risky one, though. Like, because I think I asked this to one guy before. I saw that come up, and I was like, what do you think about that? And they answered, sorry, that is the end of that friendship. That is over. Even knowing that it got to that point.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Yeah.
How?
I'll be honest. Like, I don't know. Maybe for guys it's different. I think. Is it different? I don't think it has to be that different. No. Unless this is gonna be the woman you marry, it is an absolute no-go. Unless this woman is gonna become the mother of your children, you do not date one of your boys' exes. There are plenty of women out there. Now, here's the thing. The reason I think it's different for girls is because out of 100 guys, they'll maybe only like one or two guys. So if one of those out of 100 is one of your girlfriend's ex, because they're hard to come by, you might be like, I might have to compromise this friendship a little bit for the sake of having this man. But for guys, out of 100 girls, most guys will probably give at least 30 or 40 a chance. So if one of them is one of your boys' ex, nah. And I've had this experience where one of my best friend's exes, there was a point where, because we were in the same environment, working together, and there was a point where she was a very attractive girl. There was a point where I could sense some chemistry, and I was like, I can't do it. And I had to distance myself because I was like, I like her, but I knew for me, I was like, even though we could probably have a really fun time, I knew for me that we didn't have similar values for something long term. So in that sense, nah, it's no go. And they were together for like a year and a half. So no, I think in that scenario, she doesn't have any responsibility to go to their ex like, oh, do you mind if I date your best friend? Because they're not together anymore. But it's definitely on the best friend to say something.
Yeah, but even for me, I'm just hearing it like, how did it get there? Like that's bad in itself. If like it's best friend, if they are.
So have they started dating?
From what I understand, they're just talking.
Oh, okay.
Not
well,
like
I think
meeting up, just like talking, like texting, calling.
Okay. I think if you're just talking, because when you start talking to someone, you don't know if it's going to go that way. But when if you go on a date, let's say you meet up one time and you kind of realize there's potential there, then you need to go to your friend, be like, okay, this kind of, here's the deal.
I just think it's a no-go zone, personally.
I think as a general, like I said, unless that person's your person for life,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think this warrants that from it just being them chatting or whatever. So
Yeah. Have
probably
you? Would
stay
you
on the
ever?
safe side.
Are there any? Would you ever date a girlfriend's ex?
No.
Never.
No.
You wouldn't.
No way. One, gross. Two,
What, to your
gross again.
girlfriends? I'm joking.
No, like
I'm
just
joking.
yuck. And it's just, yeah, you just look at them and just like a little brother way or like a no way. I don't know. I don't think I'm capable of seeing them in that way, to be fair. And I would just not want to put myself in that zone.
Yeah.
I find that really weird.
I respect that. What's something else?
Yeah. What are some of the main icks you have heard from the guys that you'd like to share with the ladies?
Woo!
Bring it to the table, Kit.
Okay. This is one of those times. Do you want the hard truth? Wait. Do you want a hard truth, or should I put it in a nice packaging?
We're not doing the cushiony version.
You want brutal, honestly. Okay. And I'm guessing we're talking about if he's going to take her for a serious relationship, like an ick. Is that what you mean?
I don't know.
Or just what could put a guy off?
I don't know how you would categorize the icks for the men. You can take us through that too.
Okay.
This is again. Oh, I'm looking at your face. You're looking at
okay. All right. Well, brutal honesty.
All right, let me ease you in because obviously we know like men always for women, men's icks or things they find icky is long nails is a typical thing, and hygiene and holes in the boxer shorts, holes in the socks.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I've given a few.
Okay. Something along those lines. Wow. I don't think men have that many icks. Like if we're talking like physically,
it doesn't have to be. I mean, just talking. What comes to mind when I say that? Go broad with it.
Okay. If she's cheated before, it's a big one.
If she's cheated before.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a very big one. I know it wasn't with him, but it's something in men's brain goes, if she's cheated before, I don't know if I can trust her. And I think men have a lot harsher standards when it comes to cheating than women do. It's not a write-off for every guy. Some guys might be like, okay, like, you know, depends how it happened. It depends how it happened. So if it was, I don't know, if she was like an abusive relationship and then it was a male best friend who was comforting her and then something happened, it's like, okay, we're not down for that, but we can see how it happened. But if you're like, I'm on a girl's holiday and then I got dicked down by two guys. Hey, no ring for you ever, babe. Sorry, not from me. If she's been dicked down by two guys.
Perfect segue to
if she's been dicked down,
two.
if she's had a threesome with two guys. Nah, I just
I think I saw one of the guys on your podcast saying something like that.
Yes,
and then you
did.
proposed the idea of what if it's two
girls and one guy. He was that's fine.
Yes, right.
That's fine.
Why is that fine? I'm joking.
That's fine. If she's had a threesome and it was with two guys, guys just go, she's for the streets. She's just looking out here to have fun. If he's looking to have fun, now here's the thing. If he's looking to have fun, that might be a green flag. Might be like, cool, she's down to have fun. But if he's looking for something serious,
yeah.
And not because she's a bad person, but because there's other girls who maybe will have a great personality too, like her, who haven't done that. Do you know what I mean? I'm just gonna say this. I know a lot of people say it. OnlyFans.
Okay.
She does OnlyFans. That's a big one. I actually don't know. I don't think I know any women.
When you say that, like what? What is your?
I do know we talked about a girl
like,
who was an escort though.
What?
Sorry, go on, carry on.
Wait, a girl's an escort. That.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's worse than OnlyFans because that's more interactive, though.
Yeah, I don't know if escorts actually have sex or if they're just there to provide the experience.
It depends. There's different types
of
escorts. There's ones. Depends how large your salary is. Maybe I think I've heard.
I thought you were gonna say it depends how large your booty is or something. I was like, what?
I think it's like a. Yeah, depending on if that person.
Yeah.
Is offering that.
I know it can be a very lucrative way of making money, but
why do you know that?
Huh?
I'm joking.
Listen, if anyone wants to pay me for dates, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll probably say that's probably one, because like you're just going out on dates with probably more successful guys, and you know, it's funny. I feel like I've had a couple of people react to a couple of my TikToks. I think one of my TikToks I said that something about like, you know, what was it? Oh, I said something like my guest asked me, "Oh, how come a guy like doesn't you know, like let's say cheating for example, or like, you know, guys can be insecure about maybe a girl's past, right? Oh, that's it. Guys don't want to choose a girl who maybe have slept with like over 100 guys, right? And you know, some people are commenting saying, "Oh, it's because he's insecure that he can't be the best one." Blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, guys have insecurities. So do girls. We all have insecurities, so we want to choose someone who's gonna make us feel safe.
So what for you is like a normal, acceptable body count for a woman?
You're coming in, yeah. For me personally,
You personally, and like maybe consider what you've heard from.
okay. So I think for me personally, I think I'm quite liberal in this sense. So I'd say anything less than me is fine. That's my
Are
standard.
you gonna say what your number is?
Somewhere between 20 and 100. It's not as high as 100. I'd say anything less than me is fine. But I'm about to expose myself. Anything less than me is fine, but I think above a certain number, I'd be
You're
like,
doing a great job, kid.
I'd just be like, why? It depends how old she is, though, because I've dated women. Half the women I've dated have been older, so that's been closer to maybe my experience. But then, like, if a girl's like 21 and she slept with 30 guys, I'm like, why? How? That's a lot. It's a lot. That is a lot. But
I think it's wild when I hear like mad numbers from guys, but like they just shrug it off like, yeah, it just means absolutely nothing to me though. And I'm just like,
yeah, but that's because guys,
how?
a lot of guys, I'm not like this. Like, I think I've only ever had like one night stand in my life. Like, I prefer like a level of intimacy because you build fun with that character, fun with that person.
Yeah.
And you get to know what each other like, and that just improves the experience. But yeah, a lot of guys, like when they're looking for sex,
Wild.
you know, they'll take it. What about you? What's an acceptable body count for you in a guy?
I don't even know. Like, I don't even know these days. Like, I really don't know. Because if I say a number, everyone's gonna be like laughing loud. Like, really?
Why do you think girls don't care about a guy's body count as much as guys do?
Because we know, like, the investment doesn't feel the same for them as it does us. Like I sort of spoke on roughly, like really briefly last time about entering into my space. What could possibly happen as a result of that?
Yeah.
Obviously, like I have friends who have gotten pregnant from pre-cum, for example.
Oh, damn.
So that sits in their head.
Yeah.
I'm on my period. I'm like that. It's like their vagina's constantly on their mind. If that makes sense,
Right.
Without it sounding sexualized. But
Yeah.
it's true. It's like we're constantly taking care of it and thinking, is it okay? Like, so
The risk is higher for you as a woman.
guys don't think like that. Guys
No.
just throw their shalong round and they just like
Sperm is
catch your
cheap.
body.
Sperm is cheap. You know, the egg is expensive. You know, for like women, it's about the quality. For guys, a lot of time it's about. I hate saying it's about the quantity because there should be quality and standards there, but the truth is, for a lot of guys, they don't. Yeah, but back to your original question. So for me, anything less than me, I'd say is my standard. I think it's pretty liberal. I've heard a lot of guys say if we're talking like marriage, I've heard a lot of guys be like, anything above 10 is out.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard some guys say that. Anywhere between 10 and 20, I think a lot of guys have expressed. That's what I've heard anyway. For marriage, because the thing is, when a guy is going to marry a girl, he is putting everything on the line.
Mm.
Everything. His name, his future, everything. Just because of the way divorces happen, things go wrong and she decides to leave, she can ruin his life.
Mm.
Like, it's a serious thing.
Yeah.
So a guy is like, if I'm going to be marrying this woman, she has to
Be immaculate.
yeah. They'd be like, she has to be immaculate to
Yeah.
some degree. I don't want to say immaculate like perfect, but
I know what you mean, though.
the
Like,
standards
to
are
them,
much
They
higher.
have to
Because as well,
reach
like,
certain standards.
yeah. So, you know, I said about trust and fidelity, like, so obviously paternity tests aren't mandatory, right? But some people do take paternity tests,
Mm-hmm.
right? And out of the percentage, and this is a statistic from the USA, so I'm assuming it's similar here, right? Because a lot of things mirror. But like, this was like in 2020, the amount of paternity tests that they did in the US, 30% of them came back negative, which means that 30% of men of the test they did were raising children that weren't theirs, and they had no idea.
Mad.
That's a man's worst nightmare. So if he's going to marry you and have kids with
That is
you,
really mad.
anything that suggests that that's a possibility is going to be a major ick for him. That's why guys care about body count. That's why guys care if you've cheated. That's why guys care if you're like a party promiscuous girl, all of this stuff. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying it's the reality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, and this is where women can be smart, even if you're a girl and you've had a very promiscuous past, if you meet a guy, you can present in a way that isn't that. And he's none the wiser. Because just because...
lie and just say...
Well, I don't think you should. You could lie. I don't think you should lie. But I mean, like, you know, unless he asks for certain information, you don't have to offer it. You don't have to offer it, you know? And, like, I get it. Sometimes, and I guess I can ask you this. Sometimes, you know, people have a hoe phase, right? So you have a phase where you just want to explore.
Wait, please.
What?
Elaborate. Like...
What? People have a hoe phase?
Yeah, what the hell?
Well, you never heard the term hoe?
Face.
A hoe phase.
Oh, wow, okay. I thought you said hoe face. I was like, so you look at someone's face and you're like,
No.
see the hoe.
Mate, that's
See
savage.
the hoe.
No, I mean, there's truthful, but that's just cruelty. No.
Okay, all right. That's
A hoe
fair enough.
phase.
That's
Sorry,
fine, yeah.
that's my pronunciation.
That was funny though in my head.
Yeah. She's got a whole face.
I was like, is it the lips?
What does
Is
that
it
even look
really
like?
Plump, or
What does that even look
is
like?
it the eyelashes? Like,
Well,
the
I tell you what,
contour.
10 years ago, that used to be a hoe face, but now everyone does that because, you know, Kim K set that standard. She set that standard, so did Cardi B, so who knows? City girl, we up. But, like sometimes people have girls who are like, oh, I just want to, they have a period where they just want to explore and have fun. Nothing wrong with that, right? For some select guys, that can be an ick. Be like, I don't like that. So then if you're dating him, you don't have to offer that information to him. If he asks you, I wouldn't say lie, but he could be like, there's a way to say. If you say, oh yeah, I had this experience, here's a good way to say this. You could take this, ladies. If that is the case, and you're with a guy who you think maybe doesn't like that, but you don't want to lie, which I agree you shouldn't. What you say is, oh yeah, like I did kind of try that, but it really wasn't for me, and I didn't enjoy it. He goes, great. Because if you're like, yeah, I had a fantastic time, he's like, well, she could go back to the streets anytime she wants. But if you go, oh, I tried it, yeah, there was some fun in it, but it's really not for me, then he's like, this is the kind of woman who doesn't want to indulge in that, and that's the kind of woman that I want to marry and give kids to.
Okay, that's interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's about how
it's positioned to them.
how
in their
you
head,
sell
maybe.
yourself, right? Because we're all products, right? So you can, you know, if you go, I don't know, if like there's a car and it has a flat tire, if you go, hey, this car has a flat tire, they'll be like, oh, okay. But if you go, oh no, the car has 4 wheels, normal. They might still buy it.
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's
And then they've got the flat tire by then, and it's too late.
That is.
But I'm just playing with that.
That goes with something else that's on here.
Yeah, go for it.
The first 6 months of dating a guy, you don't really know him. It just is that, but obviously to elaborate.
Do you think that's true? Do you think guys act for 6 months?
It depends. Like, I think that they can upkeep like a certain version of themselves, which is like highly presentable and of interest to the other person.
Yeah.
And they learn and they discover all of that stuff about that person, and they maybe match it themselves in their own way. But like that drops. So it's not like they're trying to fool you, but they're just like, I really, really like this girl.
So
For
they put their
example,
best
like
foot
it could be an
forward.
innocent thing that they're doing. It could be, I really, really like this girl.
Yeah.
And she says that she's really into like guys that go to the gym and guys who, I don't know, think in a certain way or move in a certain way or do things in a certain way. And she's like, advised me on those things. And I'm like, improving myself in that way. But then after a while, they just drop it because they're like, oh, that's not me actually. Like, it's a bit exhausting and draining.
Yeah.
And then you just see a version of them and it's just like, you're not really who you were putting yourself forward as in the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah,
the
guys can do that.
generalization is like 6 months around that.
Yeah, maybe. I think that is true. You know, if a guy is really into a girl and she's like, this is the kind of guy I want, and if he doesn't meet some of those metrics, he might start to make an effort in those areas to be what she wants because he wants her. And then he'll either realize that, yeah, this is something that I can incorporate into myself because it helps me grow as a person, or he goes, nah, those things aren't for me. And yeah, maybe 6 months is I feel like 6 months is
It's quite a long time though, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like a long time. I kind of feel like 6 months is kind of like where if you've been dating and having sex, if it's not going to go anywhere, it kind of ends in that period. Do you know what I mean? Or like if she wants something serious, then it should end. Yeah, I'd say before that even.
I want to ask you a question now because you just said what
Go
you
for
said.
it.
What is like you as a guy, and
Yeah.
you're like very respectful.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm saying that as a friend of yours. I don't know. I'm not.
I
I'm
appreciate
not seeing it
it.
in a different way. But how would you maybe advise a woman to go about sexually pacing
Good
herself?
Good question.
And also considering that she's quite sexually liberal as an individual.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah.
Because whether you're sexually liberal or not, truth is, if you have sex really, really quickly with a guy, it does affect the chances of him taking you seriously. And I know sometimes girls are like, oh, well, you know, if I'm a sexual person, I want to have sex straight away. And I'm like, that's cool, but listen, as women, you're the gatekeepers for sex. With power comes responsibility. That's the truth. So, and there's a way to use that towards what you want, sexual pacing. So let's say, as a general rule, you're not having sex within the first couple of days, right? I'd say first date doesn't need to be a kiss, maybe a kiss on the cheek. Second date, maybe it's a bit of a kiss, maybe it's a peck, but that's it. Third date, maybe it's a longer kiss, more intimate, you know, maybe you put each other close, all of this. The point of sexual pacing is it's not about going, we're not having sex for 5 weeks. It's about going, we are building on the physical intimacy as we are building on the emotional intimacy. As you get to know each other, the physical intimacy then increases. So,
But don't you think that's such an intentional effort that you have to continuously remind yourself and
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like when guys are dating girls, do you not think they're making an intentional effort to be the kind of man that she wants? I mean, you just said like a guy will do that for 6 months. And thing is, as a woman, you only have to be consciously doing this up until you start having sex. Because once you start having sex, then you're having sex, right? But to that point, you absolutely have to be intentional. You know, to give yourself the best chance to present your way, to show him that you are the kind of woman who is worth taking seriously, because that's what guys look for. They're like, is this girl worth taking seriously? And that's what sexual pacing does. It helps build the chemistry. And here's the thing. For a lot of women, they find that when they start having sex, or the moment they start having sex, or start being intimate, the effort from him plummets. When you're doing sexual pacing, for him, I'm not saying it's like a game, but it's like, imagine you're playing a video game, right? You want to get to level 10. If each if each day you're getting, you did level 1, the level 2, the level 3, you're not going to quit because you're on your way. But then if it's like, and this is what I mean, saying like, oh, we're not going to do anything for 5 weeks. If he wants to get to level 10, but he spent 3 weeks on level 1, he's going to give up. He's going to be like, this isn't going to happen. Or he's going to be like, she's not really into me, because if she was, then she would want me in the same way that I want her.
And so now you've said all of that.
Yes.
Now consider what we was talking about before about like like the body count topic.
Yeah.
And how men will, for them, their experience is bing bang boom, I'll sleep with her and then I'm drop her and then whatever, it doesn't affect me.
Yeah. Which most men can't do, by the way.
Oh, I'm just
but yes.
out there.
Yeah, go on.
But then for women, it's like they're going through every scenario and like they're like, I've got to like think about my vagina and sexually pacing her again. As soon as a guy's come into my life that's like showing me some kind of attention that I'm really into, we're back here again, and I'm like so conscious and aware. And like you said, we're the gatekeepers, and guys are like not having to like do that because they will just throw themselves.
Who, the girls will?
No, the guys will just throw themselves
guys.
into the situation and maybe like full on snog her, and like then she's like, oh, that made me feel nice in the moment. And then she's like, no, I have to stop because I'm sexually pacing myself.
In her head, yeah,
So,
she should.
And I just think that part is really sad. I think that's the difference that women have. It's like, it's a sad experience that we have because we have to go through life and romance and stuff like that. So conscious and so self-aware of like what could go wrong because we are the gatekeepers for sex. And then
when you say
guys,
could go wrong, what do you mean?
If I don't pace myself correctly, like you said, 2-3 dates, then you might have a peck on the cheek. And I know this is just a generalization, obviously.
Yes.
But that is the reality of what would happen in that sexual pacing scenario. Because say me, and I'm the girl in the situation, and I'm dating you, and now we've gotten to a certain point where we've gone on 2 dates. And like you tried to kiss me last time and I was like, I would love to kiss you, but I can't because I'm trying to do something here. But then after a while, it's like you have to almost decide from the get-go that you want to be in a relationship with that person quickly.
As a woman?
Yeah, to be like, to commit to that scenario. Well,
yeah, I guess... Oh, I see what you're saying. So you have to decide pretty quickly whether you take him seriously.
Yeah, and then it's like a blurred line between maybe you as a woman decide 3 months in that I was actually just a fuckboy that just was doing all this because he wanted to get sex.
It's true, but...
And then you've wasted that time and that exhausts you, and then you go into the next scenario like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the feeling, go with the flow. And like he touched my waist and fuck it, I made out of him. And literally the next day we had sex. And I didn't do that the last time. But what that ended up with is me getting mugged off anyway and not getting any sex, not getting a snog, not getting anything.
Okay, well, I mean, 3 months to not do anything is a long time. Like if you're dating someone 3 months and you ain't done nothing, I mean, like why are you both even still there? And like I said, it's not about... Like I said, it's about sexual progression. So maybe you do kiss on the first date, right? You can kiss on the first date, right? But then like progress to having sex. Don't kiss and then have sex. You've gone from 1 to 100.
yeah.
Like the first time you spend a night together, you should not be having sex. Maybe do stuff, but you have to have serious sexual discipline in that moment as the woman. This
is what I'm saying is so unfair because women are
Life
so conscious of.
But there's so much.
That's what I'm saying. We're constantly.
Yeah,
it's
but
like us and are like this always. Like that is, we have an intuition, we have a conscious, we have a mind, and we have a vagina. Yeah,
but here's the thing.
I
get what you're saying, right? But there are so many things that guys have to be so conscious of when he is dating a woman. even to get on the date with the woman. Like, let's say you're at a bar and I ask you out, right? If I want to approach you, I have to make sure I'm coming across as friendly, warm, make sure I'm not being creepy, make sure I'm trying to read the subtle cues, because maybe you're not into me. Maybe you are into me. Are you into me and you're showing that, or aren't you? Then let's say we even go on a date. I have to pick somewhere decent because I want to impress you. I have to make sure I'm wearing something right, because if I don't, I know you're going to judge me for it, right? I have to make sure I'm smelling good. I have to make sure I'm ready to pay. How many drinks does she want to have? Is she going to drink? Do I have to drop her home? There are so many things as guys. And then even into the sexual element, let's say you then come over to mine, like after the first few dates, it's like, okay, does she feel safe in my presence? Does she feel safe with me? I don't know. We're sitting on the sofa, we're talking, like, we're looking at each other's eyes. Does she want me to kiss her? Should I kiss her? No. Do I kiss her now? Is that too forward? I don't know. Yeah. Is she the kind of girl who has sex straight away, or doesn't she? So I completely get, yeah, as a woman, you have to think about those things. But, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a guy, but that's kind of the only thing you really have to think about. As a guy, there's so many things that we have to think about to impress you.
Now you've said that, yeah?
Yeah.
Now it's valid for a girl to expect a guy to pay.
No, I didn't say she shouldn't expect him to pay. She shouldn't expect him to pay. This is 2023.
So you just took us there because he was like, you know, women are constantly like making sure that we look a certain way, so we're sexually appeasing to the other person.
Yep.
Because if we gain weight and if we don't do this, it's symbolically us not giving a shit.
Yep.
To you directly, I don't give a shit because I'm in your company. I didn't choose to do that, but I am capable of doing that. You can see my Instagram. You can see what I looked like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I'd say you making an effort for him shows how much you want to make an impression on him.
Yeah, so then I'm thinking you doing the meal, it equals the amount of effort that it took me to choose an outfit, put my makeup on.
But guys have to do that too.
Yeah, but then I'm saying, so, but that matches in that sense. So that's why I'm taking that out of the equation. But what's left in the equation is the sexual pacing.
Yep.
And the guy doesn't have to do that part. He's like,
no, because you're the gatekeepers for sex. But
yeah.
Guys, there's emotional pacing with men.
They just have to respond to us.
No, but guys set the pacing for the emotional aspect. So like a big a common thing that women say is like, oh, a guy's he's not being as vulnerable with me as I want him to be yet. Guys have to earn the vulnerability with women.
Talk to us about this. This is good. I like this.
So basically, the guy sets the emotional pacing, right? So a lot of the time, a woman will want a guy to be able to be emotionally vulnerable with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But if a guy you're on the first date with a guy and he's just downloading all his emotional baggage onto you and he's like breaking down crying, that's unattractive to you. You're not going to like that. Right? Mm-hmm. He may want to do that in the moment. Be like, oh, wow, this person's really cool. I feel like I can really open up to her about all my troubles. Mm-hmm. But you do that on the first date. If he does that on the first date, that's going to turn a lot of girls off. 3-4 months down the line, then maybe he does that. It's a completely different environment and she's willing to accept that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So guys set the emotional pace, right, in regards to that. And I wanted to address something you said where you said, if a girl does sexual pacing with one guy and it just turned out he's a fuckboy, so with the next guy, I'm just going to do whatever because that didn't work. Just because you may have done it right, he may have been the wrong guy. So like I'm an actor, right? That people know. For auditions, I have to learn scripts and songs, right? Obviously, there are auditions that I don't get. Does that mean for the next audition, I'm like, I'm not going to learn it because I didn't get the last one. So why would I make the effort in this one? That doesn't make sense. I would never book anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe that, you know?
Yeah, and something that I've said is like, we can give the right treatment to the wrong person, but then don't let that then make you give the wrong treatment to the right person. Because it's not on you, it's on them.
And you're just supposed to understand through your experience with this person. I don't know, that was a silly thing for me to come back with, but
no,
well, I was gonna go on to say, it was like, you just would understand, like, maybe pick up pointers that you took from last time, whether that person's a fuckboy earlier in the stage.
So recognizing signs that he's a fuckboy.
Yeah.
Because if you do the whole sexual pacing with the guy who's looking for a relationship, it's going to work.
Mm.
Because the guy who's looking for a relationship, the girl who sleeps with him straight away, he's like, I don't know if she's relationship material. Maybe she is, but that's kind of a flag. But then you're the girl that like does that sexual pacing. You're building the physical intimacy as you're building the emotional one, right? And then his investment for you is even going to go up because it's like, this is someone I can take seriously. And I love how every time we meet and stuff, it's building and it's exciting. It's exciting for you too. But yeah, like, you know, the responsibility is mainly on the woman for that. It's true. It's true.
Interesting.
There's something else you want to get through your list?
Yeah, I don't know how to segue into it, but
that's all right.
The topic is on let's talk twin flames and soul ties.
Interesting.
So your twin. What is a twin flame? Your twin flame is your soul and another incarnation that you have met, and your soul has recognized itself in another.
Yeah.
There are a few signs psychologists say could point to a twin flame relationship. Those being sense that you're meeting yourself, multiple similarities, sometimes uncanny, a deep connection, a desire to grow, prioritization of growth over being in a relationship.
Yeah.
The meeting signifies a major change in your life. And then a soul tie is an intense spiritual connection between two people that results in a mutual learning experience. 7 signs that you have met a soul tie, that you have a soul tie with someone. You feel connected on a deeper level. They elicit strong reactions from you. They feel familiar. They may feel like they complete you. Your relationship feels unique or one of a kind, and they showed up at a significant time. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, yeah. So twin flames. So just kind of my take on kind of twin flames. Yeah, I do believe that essentially it's like meeting yourself in another body, and like maybe the opposite gender, or the same gender, I guess. You know, there'll be a lot of things that you're on the same frequency for a lot of things. That doesn't mean that you're meant to be together though, because for that precise reason, maybe you're too much the same. So actually, you're both trying to be the same. I don't say be the same role in the relationship, but you're both trying to be the same piece in a relationship. A lot of the time with twin flames, they will come together, have a very intense thing, but then conflict arises later based on things that are exactly the same about them. Does that make sense?
That's so well put, you know, I can't lie. Even when you said piece, I had like a puzzle piece and that.
Yeah.
And fighting to get in that one block. And
exactly.
That was really... And then I looked up here and I was like, that looks like a puzzle. So that was cool.
That
was good.
Now, in terms of like a soul tie, like someone who's a quote unquote soulmate, someone you connect with on that deep spiritual level, those things are beautiful because it's about the experience you have with the person.
Yeah, and it could be your friend, it could be
100%.
Anything.
But I would say again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are for you. Some people can be incredible partners, but not. Sorry, some people can be incredible lovers, but they wouldn't make great life partners because maybe you just operate differently, and that can be because of how you're raised. That can be in the cultures that you were born into. Do you know what I mean? When we choose someone to build a life with, there has to be an element of connection, but compatibility. Just because someone can be your best friend, that doesn't mean you'd be great at starting a company together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you marry someone or when you choose life with someone, like there is an element that they're kind of like a business partner. You know, you're working together to build something. And I think the danger that what we can have is we can feel that this person is our soulmate, but then and because of that, we compromise ourselves on so much as to choosing them to build a life with, because we feel they're our soulmate. When actually there's some things, they could be your soulmate and you can be amazing lovers and have an amazing experience when you're together. But maybe the way you want to raise children is completely different and is not coherent. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to sound pessimistic, but it's like, I think to expect to have everything in one person, I think is unreasonable to ask.
So what would you say is, let's put it down to 3 or 4 points that you would summarize as this is what I recommend that you should look for in a partner that you would marry and spend the rest of your life with, having children with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you even look into starting a business of your own or whatever it is. Like, you can really go the long run with this person. Like, what is the main things that you would say?
Well, I think connection is important, but like our and I don't want this to sound like, oh, just choose someone. Doesn't matter if you don't have a connection. That's not what I'm saying. I think like if we're saying like, oh, you're someone who's like a soulmate. Let's say your connection out of 100 is 95%, right? But you can be in a relationship, a very happy relationship with someone. Maybe the connection is 70%. Does that make sense? The level is.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No.
When I say that, it's like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but if you see it as 75% compatible.
No, I meant just the connection.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay. The equivalent example I would use is like a guy's attraction to a girl. Like, guys don't end up marrying the most attractive women. But it's the most attractive women.
Everybody will go with a or.
Say again.
Because it's like the generalization of what you said at the beginning, like the knowledge that everyone would go for you if you were 8.
I said if you're a woman, then every guy would sleep with you. Yeah, exactly, it's true.
So that's something they would consider maybe in that stage as a guy.
What? How his attraction to her?
Yeah, you was like, guy wouldn't maybe like want to go with the most good looking person.
Oh no, if I'm being honest, like if a guy's looking for something serious, he will happily compromise on looks for the right kind of woman. So that's what I was saying. Like, you know, if we're talking about, the way I was using connection, I was saying let's use attraction as a similar example. There can be a girl who is super attractive that I'm super attracted to, but maybe she's not that loyal. Maybe we have different ideas of how to raise kids. Maybe she's not as kind, as warm, as I would like in a partner. But the attraction is huge. Or there can be another girl where, if that girl, let's say the attraction was 95%, there could be another girl where there's an attraction there. I want to be intimate with her and do that with her. Let's say it's 70%, but she's kind, she's warm, she's like a place of home for me. And I'm looking for someone serious who's going to bring those things. So when I say the connection that you have with someone, I'm using it in that sense, because there's the spiritual connection, there's the physical intimacy, there's how do we want to live our lives aspect, which is the compatibility side. So I'd say a level of connection is definitely important. A level of attraction is definitely important. I would say that you want the same things. Like, if you want a family and they're like, I don't want kids, doesn't matter how great the connection is, like you're gonna end up going separate ways at some point. Or are you willing to sacrifice not having kids to be with this person? Because you shouldn't go into it thinking I'm gonna change them, because when you go into something being like, oh, I'm gonna change them, that's you not taking no for an answer. It's the same when a guy hits on you, you're like, I'm not really that interested. He's like, nah, I can change you.
Yeah,
I can change your mind. You can't change someone's mind. They can change their mind, but you can't do it. I think women need to take the pressure off themselves to be like, I'm going to be the girl to change him.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yes.
There are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions to the rule, right? It does happen on occasion. But for 98% of people will fail taking that approach. Connection, attraction, do they want the same things? Are they open to listening?
Okay, so that sort of takes me into another thing that was in here. I'll just say.
Yeah, go for it.
This idea of a construct that we build in our heads of a relationship and where we base that from and where we derive that from and what that means to each person. So like for me, I would maybe take it from my past relationships and relationships that I'm exposed to in my life, in my everyday. So like say my sister and her husband, maybe friends of mine, my parents, neighbors, people I work with. I build a construct of a relationship, and having conversations and watching stuff.
Yes.
I would have an idea that this is what a relationship is. I'm just going to say this as well, going back to the soul ties thing, because I had a really interesting conversation with my friend from work, and she said a question like, which links to the construct thing, which is like, do you then think that your first boyfriend, or your exes, she said, but your first boyfriend is really where she was stemming it from, are your soul ties, because that's where you've built your construct of a relationship from. And so you're then going into relationships, maybe you call yourself toxic at times because you went through a toxic relationship. So you're like, my understanding is that I'm going to get into a relationship and I'm just going to fall into the habits of getting comfortable and not wearing makeup as often as I would, not seeing my friends as often as I would, not, doing those things, because naturally that is what I see happen in that one, in that one, in that one, in that one, and that one, like all of them. So you generalize, and the construct is built from that. So you're building the wall, you're building the door, and like you can enter and out of this construct. Yeah. Like that's a relationship. If I want to go into there, that's what it's going to look like. But I'll keep the door closed because I don't want to enter that space. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, sort of.
So essentially, where do we construct the idea of what a relationship is supposed to look like for us? Yeah. Essentially. It's a combination of all those things. It's a combination of what we see with our parents, what we see with our friends, family, what we see in films. I think that's a very big one. I think especially a lot of women, I think construct their ideal relationship from romantic comedies, which I think is very dangerous. I always say, what porn is to men is what rom-com is to women. It's true. It's true. Porn sets unrealistic expectations in men about women's bodies and about sex and about intimacy. And rom-coms set unrealistic expectations in women about men, about love, and about relationships.
And that goes back to my thing that I said, where men need sex to feel loved and women need love to feel sex.
Very true. Very true. So I think it's a combination of all those things, and I understand that if you're in a toxic relationship, it's easy to bring some of that behaviors into the next one, because especially if that was your first and you're together for a while, you've built a habit in operating in that way. But that didn't work for you because it ended. So if you want a different result, you have to do something different.
But then sometimes it's a matter of not knowing how to act in a way that attains that end result. So like what people do, especially having access to social media and these social networks, is you can like analyze. That's why a lot of like couples are big online. So like there's generalized things of like, this is trending, and it's like sex is trending, and being in a happy relationship is trending, and being having money investment ideas and Bitcoin. Knowledge and Bitcoin
day trading,
trending, all of that sort of stuff. So it's just like, if you don't like, I don't know, like how do you at times build something up that is not in actual fact created or that you're familiar with, that you then give yourself the opportunity to enter into a healthy, good relationship? Because I think that sits in a lot of women's minds, like how I don't know what a good relationship is. Right. I literally don't know. So they just like scavenge around and like try and find it, and then try to build that understanding and knowledge from watching this couple on social media every day, and being like unhappy when they go into a relationship, like, why didn't you buy me roses and put petals all over the floor like they do in all these relationships? Like, that means that I'm devalued. And that is just like the construct that we're all talking about and discussing in the group chat. Like, guys, my relationship's failing because it's not meeting that criteria. And therefore I'm out. And sometimes it's based on the construct that they're out, a lot of the time, especially these days.
Yeah, I hear that. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's the truth. Whether it's relationships, whether it's the lifestyle you live, right? Because of social media, everyone's like, well, if I'm not going to a different location every couple of months, I'm failing in life. No, you're not.
Yeah.
If you have a roof over your head, especially if you live in a major city in the world, you have a roof over your head, food on the table, and you're surrounded by people who love you, you're doing better than most. You're doing better than most. I think in terms of how to move forward, being like, okay, well, this person has this relationship like this person's like this. Every relationship is different. What works for them might not work for you. Just because they've got 1 million followers and everyone's liking it doesn't mean it's going to work for you, right? Because, for example, there are some celebrity relationships where the man's allowed to step out. Not every woman wants to be with that kind of man. Because a lot of the time, the higher level you go in terms of the man you choose, right, the more successful he is, the more likely it is that you have to tolerate him stepping out. That's just what goes part and part. That doesn't work for a lot of women. So that kind of guy may not be for you. That kind of relationship may not be for you. Now, a lot of the times, in that scenario where the guy is, maybe it's tolerable for him to step out, the woman's living this kind of lifestyle where she's got the house and the cars and the bags and the holidays. And I think a lot of women want this lifestyle, but they don't understand what comes with this lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, are you willing to have this lifestyle if your man is willing to be banging a different chick every other month? You get the house, you get the kids, you get his name, but are you willing for him to do that? Some women go, you know what? Yeah, I'm willing. Some women, and a lot of women are like, nah.
And I think the lifestyle thing is what's really important. It's like, going back to what you said in our last chat was, are you dating with the intention to be in a relationship sort of thing? And maybe I don't know if you are or you're not, I don't know if you always know that straight away. You have to sort of go through that, your own journey on that as well. But
yeah. And one thing I would say in terms of, so with all this kind of information of what a relationship is supposed to look like, what it really looks like when your man loves you, he buys you a burger bag, all this. I would say establish your 3 needs in a relationship. So if you're saying, I need consistent communication, I need a certain level of time with you, and I need you to be able to listen to me, right? If those are your 3 things, everything outside of that, you discover with your person what that is. If your needs are, I need sex, I want you to, I don't know, buy me a small gift every month because my love language is gift giving, and I don't know, let's say I need you to look good and be in shape, right? Because for example, a lot of guys, they go, well, if my woman doesn't want to look good for me, she's disrespecting me. That's how a lot of guys think, because that's how important visuals are. That's how visual men are, essentially, right? A lot of girls think, well, if he's not out there trying to get the bread to improve our lifestyle together, he's disrespecting me. If when I met him, he had a job and then he decides to quit because he doesn't need to leave anymore, he's disrespecting me. He's disrespecting the relationship. Understand what your 3 needs are. Everything outside of that is what you find with your partner, and you make compromises. Doesn't matter what people are doing online. They're putting it online to make you think that you're doing something wrong, so you continue to watch them. It's part of the cycle. It's like one thing I say about, not all dating coaches, but a lot of them, especially a lot of male dating coaches for women, is they basically pander to the women and say it's all guys' fault, right? And then the women go date guys and go, yeah, it is all guys' fault. So then they come back to the coaches and then they make more money.
Okay,
it's sense. A self-fulfilling prophecy. If I give you advice that is going to perpetually keep you single, you're going to need me and continue to spend money on me. If I give you the right advice,
and that's why people
that's going to help you get what you want, you don't need me anymore. How am I supposed to make money?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of male dating coaches for women do. They just pander to what women like. Yeah, like you deserve to be treated like a queen no matter what. No, you don't. Sorry. You deserve to be treated like a queen if you know how to treat him like a king. It's reciprocal. You don't just get the man because you deserve him. Like none of us are entitled to anything. None of us are entitled to children. None of us are entitled to relationships. We're not even entitled to happiness. That's something you build within yourself. You have to build value on yourself. Like, life is a journey, right? And it's about growth. To be like, oh, well, I deserve it. Why? Why do you deserve it? Says who? Life's not fair.
When would you like deem yourself ready for a relationship with that in mind?
What do you mean?
Like, you know, like reflection of yourself and being like, are you in a state of mind that you can give yourself to another person and like be with someone? Because you might be talking with someone and like maybe they're a distraction to you and whatnot, and then you get to a certain point and maybe you look at yourself and you're like, am I actually ready to be in a relationship? Because I like don't know how to think about somebody else other than myself. Or,
Yes.
like, I've got all these things that I've planned for the next year that I want to do. Like, when would you sort of say, I would say that you're ready for a relationship? Like,
I would say if you're going to have a relationship, it means it has to be a level of priority in your life, right? It doesn't have to be the number one priority, but it has to be up there, right? So like if you've got a dog, right? Dog's not number one priority, but it's a priority,
yeah.
right? It needs to be if you're going to look after that dog and give it a lovely home. If you're at a point, it's when you're at the point where you're like, I'm willing to make certain levels of compromises in other aspects of my life to have a successful relationship right now, then you're ready for a relationship. But if you're at a point where like, I'm not willing to compromise on anything because I'm enjoying this path right now, and you're like, I just expect a relationship to work around me right now, you're not ready.
We have to talk about moaning during sex. Is it necessary? Is it real? Does it change the game for you as a man? What a woman moans like?
They're saying if she moans or what she moans like.
What she moans like.
What she moans like.
Maybe tackle two, actually. Tackle them both.
Tackle them both.
You put them both on the table, so let's tackle them both.
Okay.
Start with if she moans.
If she moans.
And then move on to how.
If she moans. Sound good, by the way? Yep, cool. If she moans. Look, if there's a level of expression that she's having a good time, that really turns a guy on. It really turns a guy on. You know, I made the joke, but like, you can watch something in 2D, you can watch it in 3D. Do you know what I mean? It's a nicer experience. If it's way too much, it can make a guy go, is she just putting it on?
Yeah.
She's just trying to, you know, because that could mean that it's really bad, but she's just trying to make him finish quicker, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's nice because it tells you that you're doing something right.
Like what you just said there, I feel like that's something that I think women are guilty of.
What, faking it?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Of course.
Yeah. I think because like guys
Why
are
do you
so
fake
driven.
it?
No, sorry, I'm about to go on to answer.
Oh, okay,
I think
go for it.
Possibly to answer your question.
Go on.
I think because guys are so sexually driven, you most of the time will like make them feel good. You want to make them feel good.
Yeah, it's nice.
But you're like, yeah, it's alright.
How often do you fake it? Yeah, I went there. I asked you now. How often do you fake it?
Oh my god! You even asked me the question.
Out of all the times you've ever had sex, what percentage of them have you faked?
Oh wow!
That you faked having a good time?
How do I answer this?
By saying the truth. Tell us the truth, Zeba.
Could be like.
Say it. Don't be shy.
Maybe like 20, 30.
Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, that's still
40, 30.
40.
No.
Okay.
30. Let's say 30%.
We'll go 35%. 35. Wow, that's significant. That's 1 in every 3. 1 in every 3 times you're faking it. That's a lot.
No, that's.
You're very kind to men.
No, that sounds like a lot. When you say it like that, I'm trying to. No, that seems
3.
quite high.
Oh, like out of 10 times, how many times would you fake it?
And he's like 3. Yeah,
yeah, it's just 30%.
Yeah.
1 in 3.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. It adds to experience. The type of moan, I don't think guys care. Like, she's a woman. She's expressing. She's enjoying herself. Yeah, I think it's
It's not something that you've heard that you're like, ooh, that was a turn off. You've not had an experience like that. You know, because like your senses are active.
Yeah.
And then you're really in the zone, and then you hear something.
I think it's encouraging most times.
Have you ever had a moment where it just makes you go, whoa, stop doing that? Whoa.
I think the only thing, wow, I can't believe you're going to make me say this. Okay. The only thing that's happened maybe a few times in my life, well, like the moan was extravagant.
Elaborate, please.
And I was like, I haven't barely done anything yet.
Oh, okay, yeah. I get you.
Do you know what I mean? That's the only time I was like, but no, I've never heard guys be like, oh, her moan is weird. No.
Okay.
No, that. What about for guys?
I think guys try not to moan as much as they can. Like, well, they think it's like it's not so masculine, or they do. Like, you not saying that I have definitely experienced moaning before, like a lot, but I'm just saying, I think
Well done, fellas.
try not to.
Well done, fellas out there. Whoever's been with Zeba, she said a lot. Well done. Hey, she said it on me.
I think that they try not to where they can.
Shall I tell you what I think it? I think it is. I wish there was another guy I could ask this, because maybe this is just me. Moaning encourages, gets you excited, and Andrew Schultz said it best. Like, this is real male privilege. When girls are having sex, they're trying to orgasm, right? They're trying to come. When guys do, we're trying not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay.
moaning and everything brings us closer to that point. If we haven't been going for a few minutes,
that's really interesting.
I'm trying to sedate myself.
Okay.
So I don't finish too quickly.
And that's a good segue, because I think that, like, the topic of why is he taking so long could be offensive to women sometimes, because they're aware of it. It's more easy for you to come than not to come.
Yep.
But
then it's like, if we're too quick, she's like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah. But then sometimes...
See, guys have to even be intentional and conscious when they're having sex. We have to be so on it with everything.
Like, yeah, I think I've definitely heard women saying that to me. I've heard it on TikToks. I've heard it in person, where, like, they'll get confused. Like, why is he not coming? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But, like, he really wants to. You can see it, but he's just not. And you're just like...
For a guy, that's like, I've got great control.
But they're in
like
their own little head, like, running this process.
Yeah.
And then we're there like, all right, I'm gonna just...
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, right? And I'll wrap up after this. I'm gonna ask, because there's a length of time where it's like, it was too quick, you didn't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's past the length of time where it's like, you start to question, is he actually enjoying it? Because he hasn't finished yet. What is that? So is that 5 minutes to an hour? So he has to last at least 5 minutes, but after an hour, you're like, what's happening here? Was it 5 minutes to 20 minutes? What would you say the time is for women? It's general guesstimation.
Of what we think is
there's
like a normal
there's an optimum window,
idea.
right?
Yeah.
There's a window. Shorter than that window, it's not long enough for you to have a good time. Longer than that window, right? You start to question.
It down to like a specific...
Because it's hard to keep track of time.
idea, yeah. But I think
have a go. 2 minutes isn't enough.
Yeah, no, definitely not enough. I think maybe if I say between 10
minutes to
20.
10 to 20.
It's like a
all right
normal, and then after that, it's like, okay, we're going to the next level, and the next level.
I think the actually average amount of time that most people have sex, I think it's like 7 minutes. It's not that long. I'm gonna check really quickly now. Average time people have sex.
Yeah, even when I said 10 minutes, I was like, that sounds so long though when it came out of my mouth. But 2 minutes sounds way too short?
So the average time of it says here from penetration to ejaculation is 5.5 minutes.
And so before you said that, I was gonna say I would say 5 minutes, and then you just said that, and then I was like, yeah, I would definitely say 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I agree. Maybe if the average time is 5-6 minutes, right? But then for most girls, the optimum would be 10 plus. As guys, we have to think, well, longer is better than what is natural for us.
I think after like the first round, let's say, that we can like accept.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's like really quick, then we're like,
especially the first time you guys have sex. Guys are so... You know what? I'll be honest, yeah. If a guy really likes you, he's not even enjoying the first time he has sex with you. He's not even enjoying it. Because he's like, this sets the standard. It's like, I've got to this point. If I fuck up here, she's not into me anymore. So the first time, he's bringing his A game. Right?
And so what I think that also like marries up to the whole thing of like guys love going down on women.
Yeah, go on. Why would you?
And that they would, they like to pace things with that in mind. Like, oh, I know this is like a thing that you all love, and I'm an expert at it, and they think that they like are the, you know, I don't know if I can swear on here.
Yeah, swear.
The dog's bollocks. That's what I was gonna say, because they have like established over doing it a handful of times that they've got something that gets that end result on so many occasions that they can say I'm expert or really good at this. So then they'll go into the situation, they might just like not prioritize themselves with awareness that if I do, it will end quickly, and
it's very true.
Then we won't get to the second part of, like, as I said, the first round maybe if it's quick. But if it's all about you on the first round and then you end in 2 minutes, then the whole situation is a wrap.
And guys know that, which is why the first time, I think if a guy's, they're all about you.
Yeah.
Like, are you enjoying it? Because he knows, like, if he doesn't pass this, that's it. That's it. I literally said this to my boy, and he's like, now here's the thing. if the first time was really good, he'll bust quick the next time. Because he's like, I've shown you that I can do this. So if I bust quick next time, it's cool. He's like, I've proven that we can have great times. So it's just on this occasion. I literally said, me and my boy said this like the other week. Like, the first time has to be good. Like, for you. After that, not that it won't be good, because if a guy is into you, he wants to please you as well. But then he only really starts enjoying it after the first time, because the first time is like a test that he needs to pass.
Oh my God, really good question I've got.
Yeah, go for it.
What's your opinion then on, maybe it's not, I don't even know where it is. It might not be the first one. It could be the second one.
Yeah.
But at some point you realize within 3 times that you've slept with each other, that the girl's really good at this.
Really good at what? Going down on him, or sex in general?
Sex in general, but that specifically.
When do we realize that she's really good?
No, like, what if you realize that she's really, really good at this? She might not have done it the first time, the second time, because she didn't want you to get the wrong impression, maybe, or just wanted to see how you were gonna go about. But then she's like, all right, well, the first 2 times it was all about me, so I'm gonna make it all about you now. I don't know when she deems that her time to do that, but then she comes at you and she's like, okay, it's all about you now. And then you're just like,
why is that a bad thing though?
I mean,
like, if this woman is like, oh, she wants to please me.
No, not
great.
that being the bad thing, but you realize that she gave you an experience you did not expect.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Then that's amazing.
Yeah, but are you looking at her like she's from the streets, boy? This one's been about.
No. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, because. Oh, I see. So you're worried that if she gives porn star level in the bedroom straight away, he starts to think, oh, she's like for the streets. No, guys have they don't use their sexual experience with a girl to determine whether she's quote unquote serious or not. Like, we use other things, you know, like I said, like if she slept with like loads and loads of guys, if she sleeps with us really quickly, if like, you know, all of this stuff that we've talked about. No, if he gets to a point where he knows that he likes her, and if he's like, okay, I take this girl seriously, and she brings that to the bedroom, listen, expect to ring the following week. That's what I'd say. Because the thing is, you can have a girl who's amazing in bed because she's been with loads of guys, but you can also have a girl who's amazing in bed because she was with that one guy that they explored and she honed her craft with. Like, if they were together for like 4 or 5 years, right, and they were having an amazing time exploring stuff, she may have only ever been with one guy, but she could be amazing in the bedroom because of what she's taken from that relationship.
Yeah.
So no, we don't use that as a metric. No. Do you guys use that? Do you go, oh, if a guy's really good, it means he's a bit of a bit of a player?
Not really. I guess it comes down to personalities, because some people are really like trying to learn from their last experience. Other people just like, I just got it like that. So I guess it really does come down to personalities. Really,
I would say that is a sign, actually, that if a guy's really good in bed, it's probably a sign that he may be a bit of a player. Because every woman's different, right?
Yeah.
So what works with one girl doesn't work with another. So if he figures out very quickly what works for you, it's because he's got a lot of experience figuring out what works for a girl. I.e., he's probably been with a lot of girls.
So then he thinks that on you.
No, because the thing is, it's
because I've had an experience where I've been with a guy and like they just thought from our like experience and interactions with each other that maybe I'm more fluid than I am, and I'm just like, that's really interesting.
I don't really hear that much. I don't think that. I don't know a lot of guys who go, oh, she was amazing in bed, which means she, you know, has been with loads of guys. Because the thing is, it's easier to please a guy than a girl. So like, if you going down on a guy is amazing for one guy, it's probably going to be amazing for 99% of men. Like the range in what it takes to really sexually satisfy us is relatively limited. So I think you'd be hard pressed to find a girl that is amazing for one guy, but then is terrible for another. I don't think you'd find that. So why do you not
think that's the case for
Well, because what works for one woman won't work with another.
And how do you know that? Like, just from experience. But like, and you can confidently say that that's the case for a man like that.
I'm saying I'm saying that I've never. Okay, so like, I've never heard that from guys. And if I'm talking anecdotally, I know I don't represent the entire population, but also anecdotally, there have been instances where maybe one or two of my friends, we've had sex with the same girl before at different points, and we all said the same thing.
Okay.
But I've definitely heard one girl say this guy was amazing, another girl be like, he wasn't that great for me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to end on that note. Look, thank you for coming.
Thank you
for bringing all the questions and stuff. I hope some of you guys who tuned in, I hope maybe one of your questions was answered. We delved into some really great stuff. But yeah, it's always a pleasure. We'll get you back on at some point. I'm sure. Well, thank you for tuning in, guys, and I will see you in the next episode. Pow.